congratulations to each of this evening's most deserving inductees, and we'll be hearing about them and celebrating them shortly. I wish there were time to acknowledge all of the prominent members of the tennis ecosystem who are here this evening, but then we'd be here all night because you all deserve recognition. So I'd ask you now to hold your applause until I get through all this, and then we'll congratulate everybody. But I first want to recognize the ITA's Chairman Emeritus, David Benjamin. David, thank you for your 37 years of service, remarkable, bountiful, and selfless work on behalf of the ITA as both its CEO and its executive director. Tim and I had to split the jobs because David was so unbelievable. You built an incredible foundation, David, for the ITA, and you've left a magnificent legacy for college tennis, so thank you. Tim Russell, thank you for your tremendous leadership and your tireless work on behalf of the ITA in college tennis for now almost 8 years. David left really big shoes to fill, even though he's a short guy, but they were huge shoes. And you've done an impressive job stepping into them and putting your own imprint on the ITA in college tennis. And it's an honor and a joy to be working with you so closely. And great thanks to you, to COO Dave Mullins, and all of the ITA staff, many of whom you already recognized. And that's past, present, and many of whom are here tonight. Not only for tonight's festivities, but for the fine work each of you do every day from wherever you are, because you're not all in the office anymore. In addition, I want to thank the past, present, and incoming ITA board members and special advisors, some of whom are here with us this evening. Your passion and participation in the boardroom are critical to the success of our association, so we thank you. Of course, the ITA coaches are the heroes and heroines of the student athletes that they coach and mentor. You're really educators when you think about it. And tonight we are joined by several current and retired prominent coaches, some of whom have been inducted, as you'll see from their green jackets, into the ITA Men's Hall of Fame. Now, the ITA is extraordinarily fortunate to have some phenomenal partners for which the ITA is most grateful. First is the USTA, with whom we are collaborating more closely than ever before to grow not only college tennis, but also our sport. And we are honored to have with us this evening an all-star cast of USTA volunteers and staff. I'm just going to share with you about a few of them. Brian Hainline, one of tonight's inductees, is the chairman and president of the USTA, and he is here with his marvelous wife, Pascal. And Brian is currently the chief medical officer of the NCAA. He's the former chief medical officer of the US Open, and he's a past ITA David A. Benjamin Achievement Award. And those are just a few of your many accomplishments, Brian. We're delighted that Lou Shear, the CEO and executive director of the USTA, is here tonight. Lou has been a fantastic asset for the USTA, especially in his former position as Chief Revenue Officer, and now having assumed the reins as CEO of the USTA, he is leading us to even greater heights. USTA past president Lucy Garvin and her wonderful husband Bob made a special effort to join us this evening. Under Lucy's leadership, the USTA reimagined and rebuilt the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. Moreover, throughout her, are you ready? 50 years of volunteering. She started when she was 6. Lucy has been a great friend and supporter of college tennis and has been coming to NCAA championships for many years. We are very pleased that Andrea Hirsch, USTA's Chief Operating Officer and Chief Legal Officer, is here. And I've had the privilege of working very closely with Andrea for almost 20 years. I did not start when I was 6. And Andrea has one of the finest minds I know, combining her legal acumen with great practicality and insight. We're also blessed to have Stacey Allister, Chief Executive Professional Tennis at the USTA. Stacey has an incredibly distinguished career in the tennis world, including having served as president and then chair and CEO of the Stacy, I love how you are creatively taking the U.S. Open to new levels and can't wait to see what's next. Also with us is Craig Morris, the USTA's Chief Executive Community Tennis. Craig is the guardian of the USTA's mission to promote and develop the growth of tennis. Great job, Craig. And I don't know how he quite manages it, but for the past few years, Craig has also been serving on the ITA Board of Directors. So thank you for all your support, Craig. And we're pleased to have several other members of the USTA staff and volunteers with us this evening. Ed Nepple, the USTA CFO, that's where they show me the money at. Alyssa Hill, Senior Director, USTA Collegiate Tennis, who's had a lot of involvement, obviously. Nellie Navarez, Senior Director, Office of the President, Marketing and Conferences, which I think is the longest title in the USTA. Scott Trebley, USTA Collegiate and Facility. Mary Bushman, Executive Director of the USTA Missouri Valley Section, who came over to join us. And last but not least, Erica Perkins Jasper, Chair of the USTA Collegiate Committee, and former COO of the ITA, and now a college athletic director. Now, the second allied organization is the NCAA, which has been in. Okay, Jody, this is about you, so you gotta listen. So the second allied organization is the NCAA, which has been an integral partner with the ITA and the USTA to make sure that varsity tennis continues to thrive. And you're here with us, and we're so grateful because you are a dazzling senior vice president of the championships. And we, our thanks to you and the NCAA for embracing that. We recognize that the only constant is change, and we are grateful to the NCAA for being flexible and creative in fashioning opportunities to benefit the student athletes that our three organizations serve. So we need to give you a round of applause. I should note that the USTA NCAA ITA partnership, or triumvirate, is the envy of other sports in the world of collegiate athletics. Indeed, this weekend is a perfect example of the great things that can happen when governing bodies collaborate. And maybe it's a good example for Congress too. Now we have representatives of a couple of other distinguished organizations with whom the ITA is fortunate to have close ties. We have Dan Santorum, the longtime CEO of the Professional Tennis Registry. And Dan is a dear friend of the ITA. And Dan, as always, thank you for your outstanding and wise support, because you tell it like it is. And John Embry, the CEO and Executive Director of the U.S. Tennis Professional Association, is with us. John, you may know, has recently announced that he is retiring at the end of this year. So John, on behalf of the ITA, I want to thank you for all that you've done for our sport these past 5 decades. I'm not sure who's been serving longer, you or Lucy, but it doesn't matter, you've both been serving late. And we will all miss you. And John, I have no doubt, having known you for so many years, that you will keep yourself active and involved with tennis. It's your passion. Moreover, your glorious wife Dagmar married you for better or worse, but not for lunch.
Thank you.
I know that Dave Haggerty, former president of the USTA and chairman of the board and president of the ITF, wanted to be with us tonight. He spent the last 4 days here promoting the WTN and answering questions for our coaches. And unfortunately, he had to return to Europe on his flight this evening because he has a WTA board meeting tomorrow. It is now my great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, John Frierson. Please do start eating. You don't want your dinner to get cold. John Frierson has been the superb creator of the ITA Men's Tennis Hall of Fame since February of 2015. So please join me in thanking the organizations and people I have just mentioned, and in welcoming John to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. always nice to be in such amazing and talented company. As a guy that never got through the state qualifying tournament, that I am up here speaking is always a little surreal. It was 40 years ago in 1983 that the first Hall of Fame class was inducted. And 40 years ago, that to show how much time has passed, that was Greg Holmes of Utah was the last player to win an NCAA singles title with a wooden racket that year. And I was a 9-year-old ball boy at that match. And so a lot of time has passed, and every day I'm in the Hall of Fame is a trip down memory lane and a lot of fun. And that first class was 15 members and included the likes of Arthur Ashe and Alex Almeida and Rafael Osuna and Dennis Ralston, Tony Trabert, and coaches like George Tolley and J.D. Morgan. And David Benjamin could speak to this way better than I in terms of the origins of the Hall of Fame, but it was Coach McGill's passion project forever. And, you know, their first class was inducted without even a building. That came soon after when Kenny Rogers donated $200,000. And I think about that class because, you know, one of our inductees, Mike Franks, played for J.D. Morgan, and as far as we can tell, the only guy he ever lost to was Alex Almeida during his career. And tonight, one of the things I want to talk about was kind of the nomination process, because I don't know if Mike was ever nominated during kind of the first 30-odd years of the Hall of Fame. And it wasn't until like 4 or 5 years ago that his family and friends kind of started, you know, lobbying on his behalf. And we reconsidered his candidacy, and he was nominated, and then he got in. And that doesn't happen without people being nominated. And so think about people you played with. Think about people you coached against. Think about people you coached. And every once in a while, somebody might slip through the cracks, and we miss them. And so I encourage you to think about, you know, potential nominees. One of the other things I wanted to say is we want your stuff. Not all your stuff, but memorabilia, mementos. If you got shirts, maybe a racket, although we got tons of rackets, you know, plaques, awards, anything that might add some character to the Hall of Fame that helps kind of tell the stories of collegiate experiences. We would love to have it because, you know, when people come in the Hall of Fame, we don't want them to just see photos and rackets on a wall, although we got a ton of those. I mean, we got one of Bob's rackets from when he won the singles title. And, you know, we got hundreds and hundreds. And they add to it, but we're looking for more always. And we're always, as I say, always looking for nominees. And so I'm hungry, so I'm not going to talk too much longer. But it's always a pleasure to be here. You know, the last time we did this was 2019 in this very room. The microphone was actually back towards the wall that time, and I think Greg Patton would probably still be talking if we hadn't had to end it. You know, the people are what makes a Hall of Fame special, and it's great to have everybody here, and I look forward to doing it again in 2 years. So thank you.
The world of classical music is a little more structured than jazz, but I'm feeling tonight we got a little improv going, so we're going to just go with the flow. We got the food, it was all tasty. Please help yourself at the bar have another drink. But what we're going to do in maybe about 2 minutes is we're going to start the first two videos. Mike Franks, I think, is either 84 or 88 years old, and he couldn't travel, and Patrick Galbraith couldn't as well. So in just a couple minutes after everybody's situated again, we'll run the two videos, and I think dessert is already placed at your table, and then we'll try to get on with the evening, because we've got a really great evening ahead of us, but I know everybody's busy. We've got players who have to participate in matches tomorrow, and everybody's had a long day. So get something to drink, get back to finish your meal, and in about 1 or 2 minutes, Josh will run the two videos. Thanks.
When looking at UCLA men's tennis, it would be hard to find a more influential or dominant player than Mike Franks. Playing #1 singles all 3 years, Franks helped the Bruins win the 1956 NCAA Team Championship, was an NCAA singles semifinalist, and an NCAA doubles finalist. The two-time All-American would only lose to one player in his collegiate singles career. Following his dominance at UCLA, Franks would enter the pros. Mike would go on to reach the third round at Wimbledon in 1957 and 1964, and the third round of the US Open in 1958. In 1956, Mike would make his US Davis Cup team debut. In his career, Franks was ranked as high as number 3 in doubles in the US in 1956, 1957, and 1959, and as high as number 7 in singles in 1958. Franks defeated some of the game's greatest, including Arthur Ashe, Rod Laver, and Alex Olmedo. Because of his outstanding contributions to tennis, the ITA is excited to induct Mike Franks into the Men's Collegiate Hall of Fame.
I want to thank you for this great honor. I grew up wanting to be a baseball player. I followed the Hollywood stars religiously and wanted to be a shortstop or second baseman. 12 and a half years old, I had a girlfriend that played tennis. Her name was Carol Ackerman. Her father was the tennis coach at UCLA. And he must have been a big shot because there was a hall named after him, Ackerman Hall. She used to tell me about some of the players, and one was named Herb Flam. And 7 years later, I was on the Davis Cup squad with him in Australia. This was probably my biggest thrill in tennis, to be named to that squad. And I didn't know about it, that I was on the team. And I was listening to the radio one night, sports, Bob Kelly speaking of sports, 6 o'clock, drinking my soup, and all of a sudden I heard my name. And I said, oh my God, how great is this? After serving in the Navy, I went around the world for the State Department with Donald Dell. I must have visited 30 countries. We were the first Americans to play in Russia. One of the wonderful things about tennis traveling is that you meet such interesting people. I met the Shah of Iran, the Emperor of Japan, General George Marshall, Neil Armstrong, Teddy Kennedy, and Supreme Court Justice Earl Warren. I had a fulfilling and exciting life, and now to receive this honor is incredibly meaningful and very appreciated. And I want to thank UCLA for what they did for me, and also Coach J.D. Morgan for what he did for me. He was a fabulous coach, and I'll never forget it.
Another UCLA great, Patrick Galbraith, left a prominent stamp on the men's tennis program during his time as a Bruin. From 1986 to 1989, Galbraith recorded a singles record of 74-23, a doubles mark of 58-16, won the 1988 NCAA doubles title, and was a 3-time ITA All-American. In his senior year, he earned the Pac-10 Singles Championship. Following his UCLA career, Galbraith continued his success on the Pro Doubles Tour. In 1994 and 1996, Galbraith won US Open Mixed Doubles titles. In between those titles, won the 1995 ATP Doubles World Championship. Galbraith was a men's doubles finalist at Wimbledon in 1993 and 1994, and a mixed doubles finalist at the French Open in 1997. Throughout the 1990s, Patrick Galbraith frequented the top 10 doubles rankings, reaching number 1, and would go on to earn 36 career doubles titles. After his retirement from the tour, Galbraith was elected as the chairman of the US Open in 2018, president of the USTA from 2019 to 2020, and he spent more than a decade on the USTA board of directors. Based on his on-court success at UCLA and the tour, and for his leadership in the sport, the ITA is honored to induct Patrick Galbraith into the 2023 Men's Collegiate Hall of Fame.
As I was reflecting on the evening that was to come, it seemed to me that we were going to have a tapestry that really has themes of journeys, teams, camaraderie, family, hard work, joy, and a passion for our sport. I've known Brian Hainline for almost 20 years. we actually started together with the USTA on a doubles task force. And this struck me as kind of interesting, remembering that we were going to end the evening inducting Mike and Bob. It was kind of fun because this task force was under the presidency of Franklin Johnson, who was interested in promoting doubles. And at a meeting, and I think it was the O'Hare Airport or something, Brian was chairing this task force, and Billie Jean King was there, and Craig Tiley was there, and we were really talking about what we could do to promote doubles. And I think we're going to end the evening thematically on what you guys did in terms of the world of doubles. And as I've gotten to know Brian throughout the years, all of a sudden a bunch of things came together. One of them was the pandemic. And as you heard John Vigozin say, obviously Brian's the chief medical officer of the NCAA, and I want to thank him for not only helping the ITA, but I think guiding all of college sports through the pandemic. If you think about that, you know, it's quite a remarkable accomplishment. The ITA was actually one of the first national governing bodies to actually start having competition as the pandemic was ongoing. And then as the season went on, I called Brian and said, hey, can we have a national team indoors? And he said, let me call you back. And he called back because he's always thoughtful. And he said, I think you can have the event, but you can't have any congregate events, meaning things like banquets and the like. And we actually were able to navigate the pandemic, I think, much like the USTA, showing that tennis was really a safe sport, and we've all seen the growth. But there's many things that really impress me about Brian. One, I don't know if he sleeps more or less than John, but to be the chairman of the board and the chief medical officer, and also to continue to do research is pretty astonishing. And I just want to close by saying, as John mentioned, we had our ITA convention, and the other day, amidst his really busy schedule, Brian came and gave a talk to the ITA convention, and it was at 4 o'clock. And I was thinking, I hope at the end of the day a bunch of coaches show up, because the talk was about mental health. And the place was packed. And John, you mentioned that we were having a trifecta. There was another first, and I'm not sure Brian even shared it with Pascal, because Brian showed up and gave his first ever lecture on medicine wearing shorts. And we didn't put it in the upcoming video, and I was reluctant to share this because he didn't get permission from Pascal. He just got it from me. But one of the things that our coaches said, which is what I really want to reflect on, is that here is a profound scholar who gave us really practical advice. So not only has he done research that's actually generated really great results, but he shared it with coaches in a way that said, for example, here's what we've found, but sleep is really an important issue. And he literally got their attention by going, hey, if your players are getting injured, or if they're actually double faulting, find out if they're sleeping well enough. And there was an entire checklist of what we needed to do in terms of CPR and mental health interventions. But the reality is, I've not only had a great personal joy in working with Brian for almost 2 decades, but not only does our sport owe him a great debt of gratitude, but all of the world of intercollegiate athletics does. So I'm really honored to just say a few words, and then what we're going to do, just so all of the inductees know the plan, we're going to run the video, and then instead of me coming up and saying, and now Peter Smith's going to talk to you, the inductees will come up, and then we're going to actually make a presentation. We're going to take some photos. But I want to thank not only Josh for creating the videos and Zach for taking photos, but all of the inductees. If you want to take any photos after, let's say, family photos, whether it's the step and repeat or like, we'll do that afterwards. But the order is going to be video, presentation, then I'm going to say a few words about the next inductees, and it'll flow like that. But let's cue the video for Dr. Hainline, and then Brian can be prepared to make his remarks.
As the Chief Medical Officer of the NCAA and Chairman of the Board and President of the USTA, Brian Hainline has become fundamental to the safety and improvement of our 520,000 student athletes across the country, as well as many more across the globe. Previously serving as the Chief Medical Officer of the USTA and the US Open Championships, Brian has given more than 25 years to the advancement of sports medicine and to tennis.
Well, I grew up playing tennis in Detroit and was a classic public parks player. I remember finally taking a bus to either Stouffville Park or Palmer Park, and we would hang out, and a bunch of parents were around, and they sort of arranged games for us and got us to tournaments. And then I was able to play in college, got into Notre Dame and played for them and worked my way up to #1 my senior year in singles and doubles. Tennis was great because for so much of the time, especially in the spring and fall, you would either be on campus competing or going to other schools, and it was really a way to get outside of the school environment, get away from some of the pressures of school. And I mean, it really was a lot of fun to be with my teammates, and the collegiate experience was just fantastic for so many different reasons, and not the least of which was just being able to play really high-level competitive tennis.
After a career in collegiate sports, Brian would continue his journey by receiving his MD from the University of Chicago and starting his research in the field of neurology in New York. But it would be years before Brian would realize his true calling in the world of tennis and sports medicine.
You know, I came into sports through medicine almost by accident. The first 6 years of my career in neurology was doing brain tumor research and had nothing to do with sports medicine, sports neurology, or you know, working at the NCAA level. And it was about 6 years into that where I was asked to contribute to a book on drug use in sports, and one thing led to another. And I got a call kind of out of the blue to join the Hospital for Joint Disease as part of New York University and be their director of clinical and sports neurology. And I had no idea what sports neurology even was, but I accepted the position as a challenge. And interestingly, that same year, I got a call from the USTA, from Marshall Happer in particular, the executive director at the time, and he asked if I would be the chief medical officer for the US Open Tennis Championships. And within a span of a few months, the next thing you know, I was doing sports neurology and was the chief medical officer for the US Open. And one thing led to another, and ultimately that began my journey into sports neurology and ultimately becoming chief medical officer of the NCAA.
For Brian, this journey was all about looking at sports not as the goal of winning or losing, but as a catalyst for human development and the advancements of athletes everywhere.
It's been extraordinary to watch him in action because there aren't enough hours in the day to account for how much Brian contributes to our sport.
I think what I'm most passionate about is just looking again at sport as a public health good, because we keep forgetting that sport is about human development. And so when you're looking at sport, it's not just about wins or losses. You're really looking at a long-term journey. But along the way, you know, for athletes, when we really think about it, in the human development, you're learning to be goal-oriented. You're learning to take care of yourself. You're learning how to fall down and pick yourself up. You're learning how to work as a team. You're being protected as a team. And so just that whole concept, I can't emphasize it enough, that sport is so critically important for public health good and for human development.
You know, what is really so impressive about Brian is that he has this intense moral compass, and he's used that moral compass to contribute to tennis being inclusive, ethical, and a great model for sport for America.
He's been a trailblazer in delivering top quality health care and innovative services to the players. His approach goes beyond providing specialty services during the tournament and treating each player holistically and comprehensively. And the level of trust and confidence that our players have in Brian's care is remarkable.
And not only is Brian committed to ensuring that people have access, Brian is committed to ensuring that tennis is safe for all. I want to congratulate Brian on this well-deserved honor. Tennis in America is better off because of Brian's participation. Tennis around the world is better because Brian has committed so much of his life to elevating the game, and we're just so appreciative, and we couldn't be more fortunate than to have Brian leading the USTA. I just say well done and congratulations.
Congratulations, Brian, on your induction and for everything that you've done with your passion and purpose-led leadership for the sport, for the USTA. You've helped us raise our game throughout the years, and I just personally also want to thank you for your dedication to the health of women and their well-being, both on and off the court.
Brian, congratulations on your induction to this prestigious Tennis Hall of Fame. You're well deserving to be part of its tradition of excellence. Your impact continues to grow stronger and stronger with each passing day, and I can't wait to see what you will achieve next.
Well, good evening, everyone. I first want to thank my fellow inductees, Bob and Mike and Peter, and then Mike and Patrick, and thank the ITA, and thank the USTA and NCAA for being here. I just wanted to share 3 short stories that kind of happen, you never know in life by accident, but they shape your life. So one was when I was playing college tennis. It was actually my junior year, and you know, Notre Dame had a decent team. We won the Eastern Intercollegiates, but we weren't that good, really. But, you know, we were okay. But I was playing number 2 my junior year. It was the beginning of this spring trip, and I quit the team. And I didn't know why I quit the team. I lost my scholarship because of that. My parents said, you know, you're going to have to pay for your senior year. But I actually fell into a very deep clinical depression, but didn't know it at the time. Because you didn't talk about that stuff. You couldn't talk about it with your family, with your friends. You couldn't even talk about it with yourself. And I kind of struggled through that and didn't play tennis and went on sort of this self-search. And then I remember like yesterday, my senior year, I was walking across from O'Shaughnessy Hall and saw the new Rockne building down the way, and I said, God, you know, why am I not playing tennis? I love this game so much. I've come to understand myself a bit better. So I decided I was going to walk right into Coach's office. It was Coach Tom Fallon. And I walked into his office. He happened to be there. And I said, Coach, you know, I want to apologize for quitting the team. And, you know, I want to join the team again. And he didn't even blink. He said, okay, 3 conditions. I said, okay, what are they? He said, first is you don't quit the team. I said, Coach, I'm on my knees begging to play, so I'm not going to quit the team. He says, fine. Second, you get no money. I said, Coach, I've been working. I got some great jobs. I got college loans. I don't need money. He said, fine. Third, tomorrow morning, you're going to play the number 16 player in a challenge match. And this was a Friday afternoon. And I started stammering and, you know, trying to give excuses. And he says, you're out of here. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8. So it was fine, but I hadn't played in a year. And that night, you know, we were living off campus. There were 6 guys in a house. And next door, there were 6 young ladies. And we had a party planned for that night. It was a pajama party. And the theme was that you come dressed to this pajama party as you would normally come dressed, you know, when you go to bed. So, and I'm pretty sure in the archives of Notre Dame it's still the best party that was ever had. But I didn't sleep that night very well. I lost my match to the number 16 player. And I asked Coach if I could come back. He gave me a chance to come back. And I eventually worked my way up to number 1 that year. But what was important about that is that was the first time that I understood that life has purpose, that tennis has purpose, and that tennis gives me purpose. So that was really a foundation that I'll never forget, and it's the foundation of me being here today. A second short story, I was interviewing for my neurology residency, and it was, you know, considered maybe the most prestigious residency in the country. It was at the New York Hospital Cornell. This guy, Fred Plum, who was a terror, but he was a genius. And I interviewed with him, and, you know, after 10 minutes, he sized me up, and for the next 50 minutes of the interview, he said, how did you double major in philosophy and science and play tennis and compete and this and that? You know, and I don't remember what I said. I actually do remember what I said. I said, you know, well, Dr. Plum, discipline is the key to freedom, and I believe in discipline. And on the spot, he said, Brian, I want you. You're going to, you know, be one of the 5 people who's going to be part of this program, and you're going to teach all of the other residents discipline. You're going to teach them about the mind and the body. And so I was all excited. I called my wife. I said, you know, I think I got into this program, but I don't think it's because he thinks I'm smart. But it really was the foundation for my academic career. And the third was, and it was mentioned in the video, it was a Friday afternoon. Marshall Happer called me up and asked me to be Chief Medical Officer of US Open. And at that time, the only people who did sports medicine were orthopedic surgeons. And I said, Marshall, I can guarantee you, I don't think I'm qualified for this job, but he convinced me I could try it out. But the orthopedic surgeons are going to go haywire, and they're going to go on a campaign against me. And sure enough, in New York City, there was a campaign against me that, there's some flimsy neurologist who's going to be running this as Chief Medical Officer of the US Open. But it was very important because that truly was the beginning of when sports medicine went away from orthopedic surgery. It began the subspecialty we now call sports neurology, and it was the beginning of sports medicine as an academic enterprise that was not about surgery but was about holistically treating people. And I've been on that journey ever since. And it's because of those three particular incidents that I'm here today. Plus some luck and a lot of love and some hard work and discipline, the key to freedom along the way. And right now, I do believe that we're in such a unique place in tennis. Tim mentioned it, the USTA, the ITA, the NCAA have never been cooperating like before. The 4 Grand Slams have never been cooperating like they are right now. In fact, the tennis world has never been more together. And there's great reason for it, because all of the data tell us that tennis is the healthiest sport on this planet. Tennis is doing fantastic. And I just will end today by saying that I believe I've been blessed with all of the things that have brought me here through tennis, through sport, through academics. And I'm going to do everything in my power, I pledge to you, to work with all of our stewards of sport, everyone in this room, to make certain that one day the entire world understands that tennis is the model sport. So thank you, everyone.
So as we referenced, I think everyone knows about Brian as a true tennis guy, but we've also referenced with Joni being here and the championships how important our relationship is with the NCAA. We did invite the new president of the NCAA, Charlie Baker, and I think everyone knows that he's got one of the tougher jobs in college athletics, but I do want to make sure, Brian, you know that Charlie and his team wrote a wonderful email that I'll share with you saying how proud the NCAA was of this as well. So I want to make sure that you know that while he wanted to be here, he actually sent his greetings not only on his own personal behalf, but on behalf of the NCAA. So this partnership really is real and terrific. We're now going to move on to Coach Peter Smith, and I just want to make a couple of quick observations. It's the luxury of the privilege of the chair. I have the microphone, I get to say just a few words. And I mentioned that my wife is a tennis junkie. We love coming to the NCAAs. I believe, Coach, we were at least 4 of your championships. And I think one of them might have been at Georgia Manny, and I think it might have gone into 1 or 2 in the morning. And we were there till the last ball was struck. And there were a number of things that just impressed me about you. I didn't know you very well, but the one I'm going to share is just how cool and calm and collected you were on the court all the time. Now, I'm not going to go into who the other teams were, who the other coaches were, but it made a distinct impression on me. And I used to teach a graduate course at Arizona State on peak performance, and I always like to compare the arts and athletics. But what you did on the court was so impressive because I knew you'd done all the work in the background. And then it came time for the big moment, and a bunch of other people were really nervous, and I just kept watching, guys. This guy is so cool. And I knew you were a competitor, but it just impressed me, your presence on the court. So that is my first story. The second one was in my role as the head of the ITA, and one of the things about our bylaws is we have governance by coaches, including some operating committees, and one of the things that's in the bylaws is that the ITA CEO gets to actually have some picks to who actually serves on that group. Most of the coaches are elected by regions. And I remember calling up Peter and said, I'd really like you to serve on the ITA and on this operating committee. And you said yes. Here's a guy winning all these championships, and he'd been on the NCAA tennis committee and helped shape our sport. And he actually said yes. And the last story I'll tell is in the room, some of you are too young, but I'm old enough to remember the E.F. Hutton commercials. And if you remember the E.F. Hutton commercials, the whole thrust of the marketing campaign was that when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. That was Peter Smith. When Peter Smith spoke, everybody listened. So I want to not only congratulate you on your role as a coach and a teacher and as a mentor, but as a servant to our sport. So let's roll the video.
Where Peter Smith goes, success follows. As the head coach of Long Beach State, Fresno State, Pepperdine, and USC, Coach Smith is the only coach to lead 4 different programs to a top 25 standing and remains one of 2 coaches to lead 3 different programs to a top 5 national ranking and NCAA quarterfinal appearances. Now, as a 5-time NCAA Team Championship winner and 2-time ITA National Coach of the Year, Peter Smith is cemented as one of college tennis's most successful coaches and mentors.
Well, I always say that my career found me. So I went back and got my degree, and my coach brought me in, Larry Easley brought me in the office one day and said, I'm quitting tomorrow and I'm going to tell them to hire you. And I started coaching, and I loved it immediately, and it just was very clear to me after a couple of weeks that I just found out what I was going to do the rest of my life.
Looking past the trophies and the rings, Peter Smith would find the rewards of coaching through experience and the relationships he was able to develop over the course of a career. And there were 3 things that helped propel his love of the game and his love for coaching.
It was super clear and super obvious to me. Right away, I knew I could help the guys on the team. I really realized, and I didn't realize this before because I was so young, I was just 23, that I just loved helping people. And that brought me a lot of joy. And that was first and foremost. And the second was, I'm very competitive, and I love being in competitive situations. You know, you could help and coach, and then you got to play. And so then there was, this contest to see, if you were a good coach or not. Third thing is I love building things. So at every university, I coached at 4 universities, and that I got a lot of joy in watching something get better.
Especially when you're coaching college, when you have 10, 12, 15 guys on a team, he knows how to differentiate how I push one guy to another to get the best out of them. And that's what makes Peter the best coach. He's able to get the best out of just about everybody he coaches.
For Peter, the ultimate goal was never to walk away from the college tennis scene, but to hopefully impact the lives of every person he touched. With more than 28 years of experience at the head of the programs he coached, he also leaves more than 28 years of lessons.
At the end of the day, it's about relationships. I used to tell the guys that I don't know if you'll know what kind of a coach I was, if I was good or bad, until you're in your 30s. I mean, if you're just coaching tennis, it's a little boring. I always wanted to relate tennis to life and use tennis as an avenue to help them better in life. And, there's very few players that coach that became successful pros, but, hopefully I helped them become a successful human. That to me was a lot more exciting than being a successful tennis player.
Coach.
Hi, Coach.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, Dad. Just your favorite son here.
Hey, Pops, /Foxy/Wolfie.
You are a worthy recipient of this award and this recognition. It doesn't come as any surprise to me that you're being inducted into the Hall of Fame here.
20 years later, I can say that you've been one of the biggest influence in my tennis and as me as a person, and I want to thank you for that.
It's been an absolute pleasure to play for you. There is no doubt in my mind that you are well deserving of this. To have a small piece in your career is heartwarming to me, and I can't thank you enough for everything you've done. So thank you, Peter. I love you, and thank you for all you've done for me.
I just want to say that I love you. I'm so proud of you for this accomplishment. I know how many lives you've touched and you changed, including mine, Tanner and Riley's.
I know that you deserve this more than anyone in the world. I think you've touched so many lives throughout college tennis and coaching, and you've made such a difference in my own life, and I'm so proud of you.
You're living proof that success is no accident. For 27 years I've been alive, I've watched you outwork everyone, outcompete everyone, and care more. I'm very lucky to have you as my dad, and also as my coach, and even my occasional doubles partner.
So I know this is an award, but really the real reward is the difference you made in other people's lives. Love you.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Jerry Maguire movie where he turns to him and says, "You're not going to make me cry, Roy. You're not going to make me cry." I said to my wife, she just said, "How you feeling?" I said, I think I might cry. And I said, I don't know if I want to give everybody the pleasure in this room of seeing me cry. And she looked at me and she goes, "You're going to cry." Well, when this was announced, I was at lunch with Coulter and I said, "I'm on the court, Coulter. I'm on that court. I'm on the doubles court. There's some good doubles players there. I know they won some Grand Slam trophies, but I'm on the court. I've won some gold balls. I've won some national championships. I'm on the court." And he looked at me and he said, "Dad, they're in as players. You're in as a coach. You're on the court, but you're the coach." He said it to me straight. I really, always felt like this was what I was supposed to do in life. It just was always so natural for me. I was a disaster as a player a lot of times, and I think that's one reason why I was such a good coach. My coach Larry Easley once said to me, "Thank you for sending the pizza to me at 2:30 a.m. in the morning. You just wanted to tell me that you were out that late, didn't you?" And I said, he goes, "Thank you for the pizza." And whatever one of my players was going to do, I'd probably already done it. Brian, I really enjoyed some of those stories. And Tim, you mentioned 2012. When I woke up in the morning of a national championship match, my only goal for the day was to somehow get my heart rate down under 100. So I would usually go on a run or get on a treadmill, and I would work in reverse. I would start, it would be at like 120, 150, and I would try and bring it down, and I wouldn't get off the treadmill until it was down. And I just always thought I was the luckiest human in the world. I really believed that. Coaching, to me, especially in those moments, you just feel like this is what you were put on earth to do. So it's super rewarding to have, a couple of my players here. My assistant coach, I only have one assistant coach here because the other two were associate head coaches. And we know there's a huge difference in that. So Brett was the assistant coach, but George and Chris, they were associate head coaches. Much better, much better. It's just so rewarding to see so many people here, from Manny to Billy to Erica to Fred to Nick to Jürgen, Torch, just so many people that, it just means a lot to see you here. My family, they're front and center. I didn't learn to be a great coach until I had kids. And my kids showed me how to love in a different way. I was never happy with the relationship I had with my father. I always wanted more, and which each one of them, when they were born, I had a little talk with them in the crib that, you know, I was going to try and be the best. And, you know, just, they showed me how to love, and I really took that to my coaching. You know, not everybody's perfect, and I'm far from perfect, but loving my players really, it just, you know, I was talking to Bob and Mike about it earlier, like, I always felt when push came to shove in the quarters, semis, finals, that my guys, I could push them over a wall. And, you know, and that was directly from my kids. So, you know, T, Rye, C, you know, just thank you for being here. Lily, Lauren, I love you guys. And, you know, the lifelong co-head coach. You know, look, I loved going to work every day because at work, they knew I was the head coach. At home, that was always in play. Yeah. I was the associate head coach. Thank you, Chris. The other thing I wanted to say was, you know, Chris, I think you getting married and having kids could actually help your coaching career. I would have forgotten it, but you had to speak up. You know, I'm a lot. I am a lot. And, you know, Tamara Jean, 32 years. You know, just thank you for just being my rock. And you are fierce. She's the most competitive one in the house. And it's a competitive house, trust me. We had a competition the other day who weighed the most. Fortunately, I didn't win it. But, you know, thank you. Everyone here to support me, thank you. I never dreamed of something like this. This is incredible. And I think everyone that John didn't introduce is here for me. So, you know, I'm not going to introduce them all, but I appreciate all of you, and this is amazing to be accepted and appreciated by your colleagues. There's no greater thing I could ask for, and just to have my family. I told each one of my boys, please do not come to this event. I do not want to cry, and I made it through. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Never leave them out there. I'm not crying, you're crying. That's right. So Bob and Mike, I don't really know you that well, but I feel like I do. Almost like everybody else in the tennis world. I talked in my introductory remarks about journeys, and I talked about my wife and I being tennis junkies. I think the first time we watched you play actually was at Arizona State University, where I was a professor for years. I think your dad came to the match, and we've watched you from there through bunches of Grand Slams, and it's just been a great joy, pleasure, and privilege. I talked about teams and camaraderie. I'm seeing Mark Bay here, and it's a funny thing about not only that the world is small, forget about 6 degrees of separation, it's usually 1 or 2. Mark and I have had the pleasure of working together for a long time, Mary Bushman and I. Look around the room, and it's about teams. And when I think about the journeys that we've had with the USTA and some of the intersections, it's just been an amazing journey for me. I've gone from being an orchestra conductor to a part of the tennis industry, which I love, but it's about journeys. Our son Jeff sends his regards, and obviously has had the great pleasure and privilege of working with you as well. But in closing, just to tie together my work as a musician with tonight, we used to have debates in the world of art, and the question was, what is great art? A very philosophical question. What is great art? And there was once a philosopher named Samuel Johnson who was asked, what is great art? And his answer was that which pleases many and pleases long. Great art is that which pleases many and pleases long. And when I think about great art, whether it's Mozart or Beethoven or Picasso or Monet, great art is that which pleases many and pleases long. And when I was trying to think about just your guys' role in the tennis world, it just seemed that you're like great art. You've pleased many people and you've pleased us all for a very long time. And we really thank you for not only coming here, but bringing your wonderful families. I was talking to the young singer in the world when we got here and said, I've gotten to conduct for some great singers, and now I got to hear a great singer both at the US Open and I think at the Billie Jean King Cup. So back to this idea of threads and families and journeys. Let's cue up the video and off we'll go.
As the winningest doubles pairing in tennis history, one duo stands above the rest in Bob and Mike Bryan. In the conversation as some of the most influential players of our sport, the Bryan brothers have gone on to accumulate the most overall titles and Grand Slam titles in ATP history. With 438 weeks atop the world rankings at number 1, more than 1,100 match wins and chest bumps under their belt during 20-plus years of professional play, the Bryan brothers proved time and time again that they were certainly here to stay. But before winning Grand Slams and Olympic gold, Mike and Bob had their sights set on a different type of goal growing up, one that would help propel them into the history books.
Our big goal was always to play at a D1 university, a top D1 university, and my dad would take us to all the college matches in the area to see that next level of where we're trying to get to.
Whether it was UCSB, Pepperdine, UCLA, or SC, Friday afternoons, we would get rid of practice for the day and go down and enjoy a great college match. And we were inspired by that. We really looked up to the college players, and the level's so high. We wanted to do that. And Mike and I set a goal. We put it on our refrigerator. At the beginning of every year, we'd write down our long-term goal was to play D1 college tennis.
And while the Bryans' college decision would be up in the air, with options to go to USC or Stanford, there was always one decision that was never in doubt.
Yeah, it was a very easy decision to go together. I mean, we were a package deal.
Twins are always a package deal. We pretty much spent every minute together.
You know, we always played doubles together. We're so close, being identical twins.
We were each other's best friends and just partners in crime. And so it wasn't even a discussion if we were going to split up.
We always thought we were going to go to USC and be there, just like my mom had gone to SC. But, you know, in the back of our mind, we were looking at the Stanford program.
We saw Stanford at the 1990 NCAAs. They just looked like a powerhouse. They were one of the top teams in the country. We just wanted to try to play on the best team we could. And
2 scholarships miraculously opened up, and then we jumped at the opportunity.
The coach, the players on the team, just the beautiful university. That's kind of what made the decision easy for us.
Very, very lucky to have an opportunity to go up and play for Stanford.
Bob and Mike would go on to win back-to-back team titles for the Cardinal in their 2 years at the farm from 1996 to 1998, including the singles and doubles titles in their final year, capping off their undefeated season with a triple crown for Stanford.
I mean, I think it was one of the smartest decisions we ever made, was to go off to college. I felt like we really needed it to grow as individuals and people, and socially and emotionally and everything. We just learned so much in those 2 years at Stanford.
There's nothing like college tennis. The emotions you feel on the court, the pressure you deal with, the adversity of going into a hostile environment, say Athens, Georgia, and playing against the Bulldogs there, you know, with 6,500 fans screaming at you. And it really prepared us for the tour. And Davis Cup matches felt like a piece of cake as far as dealing with the environment. But we learned so many lessons.
College tennis is just a great springboard for the tour, because you're playing against some of the top players in the country, in the world. You're growing physically, mentally, and you can really improve your game over those, whatever you want to go, 2-4 years. I just think there's no rush. And so it's great to see guys coming out of college and then going right into the tour and making that seamless transition and cracking through.
What they've done to help doubles and keep doubles going in this world of competitive tennis is also phenomenal. People enjoy watching them play because they're just fun to watch. They're fun people and fun to be around. I was truly blessed to have Bob and Mike and the team for 2 years, and we were all better people because of our association with them and what they gave to us and what we learned from them.
There's something unique about the Bryans. They are the most dedicated, focused people that I've ever met, and doing it with class all the way through. I think that kind of differentiates them from everybody else, is that they had a unique talent. Their work ethic was second to none.
It's been such a thrill to watch them, all their success, to be part of it in college, and then after they graduated, obviously to become, the greatest doubles team in the history of tennis. It's to live up to those expectations that other people had and that they put on themselves. I think it was just for me personally, it was really exciting. And I'm so happy for them.
Mike and Bob, I just wish I were with you tonight. It's such a great moment for intercollegiate tennis in general, of course, and for you guys as well. This honor is something that will be cherished by you always, and the contributions you made to our Stanford tennis program, to tennis, to doubles in general in the world. I'm so proud of you, and we all are so proud of you, and really thankful for the opportunity to have gotten to know you in your journey and along the way, and we wish you all the best in the future for continued success in your involvement in tennis and with your families.
Bros, I love you guys. I can't be more proud of you. What an accomplishment to cap off an incredible career. So proud of you guys, and there's nobody more deserving of this. Congratulations.
I just want to congratulate you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you have accomplished, for everything that you have brought to our sport, and for everything that you brought to my life. Congratulations, fellas. You guys just keep on being you.
Bob, Mike, congratulations. It's about time. You guys are legends in tennis and in college tennis, obviously. And congratulations and welcome to the Hall of Fame.
Wearing this Stanford sweatshirt in your honor, Mike and Bob. Huge congratulations on the ITA Hall of Fame. Well deserved. What a great career you had there and on the Pro Tour. Your mom and I just couldn't be more proud of you. Congratulations again.
One more. Take this off. Program's running a little long, so we're gonna give you guys a 2-for-1. It's a school night. But yeah, thanks Tim, thanks ITA for putting together this beautiful award ceremony. We're thrilled to get this honor. Great speeches, guys. It's hard to follow that. And congrats to our fellow inductees on getting in here as well. It's a decorated class. I'm proud to be with you guys. And thanks Josh for putting together that video. Those are touching words by our teammates, our coach. Right there, it really means a lot to hear that stuff from Goldie, and who's truly the tiebreaker for our reason to go to Stanford, because it was wavering, but this guy was our junior idol. He was a god, 3-time Kalamazoo champ, and it was an honor to play for Gould and Windlinger, but to rub shoulders with Paul Goldstein there on the farm. So that was the tiebreaker. I don't know why my dad has a racket in that picture, but he was in his backyard, and he loves landscaping, so you can see how green his yard was. And he couldn't be here tonight because he's landscaping, he's doing his he's picking weeds. But it did start with my parents. They drove us to college matches every week in a 100-mile radius of our house, UCSB, Pepperdine, UCLA, Stanford. That's where we fell in love with college tennis, the passion and the excitement of college tennis. And yeah, we wrote down our goals. We wanted to go to a top D1 university and worked hard every day to get a scholarship. And as Bob said, there were 2 opened up at Stanford. And just like a jackpot. So we jumped at the opportunity to go play under Gould and play with Goldie. Yeah, I gotta give a shout out to our parents. You know, they had a great balance in our house of academics, athletics. You know, bringing an A home on the report card was just the same as bringing a trophy home from the tournament on the weekend. And you know, you guys all know what Nintendo was. We had no TV in our household, but we were begging for the Nintendo. And they put together a crazy list of stuff we had to accomplish. It was take the trash out, brush teeth, make the bed, take a shower, which was a hard thing for us at that time. But we did it every day for a year. And finally the Nintendo showed up and my dad put a parameter on it. It was 1 hour every Friday that we could play. And that was torture for us because we were junkies. And we were playing 2 a.m. on a Tuesday night. And we heard the footsteps come down the hallway. My dad was going to the bathroom. And Mike dove to turn off the TV, tripped. My dad busts in, he's like naked, and he rips the Nintendo out of the wall. Sparks flying, cords, drywall. And he went across the grass. We had a 100-foot veranda behind the house, and he just hurled it. And it was traumatic for Mike and I. It's why my kids got the iPhones, and we got 14 TVs in our house now. But they were really, you know, strict about the time management and setting goals. It's tougher these days. We all got kids, and my kids waking up at 2 in the morning and asking for cartoons because they're so good. And so, where do I go with that story? Just won it. Yeah, I mean, we needed college tennis. We were small, little guys. You saw some of these pictures. We were little. I think we were 125 pounds coming into Stanford. Hadn't had girlfriends. I don't think we kissed anyone. We were lightweights because we went right into SE, and Goldie had to pour water in our drinks when they're hazing us. SE. But we won Kalamazoo. We got a wild card. I want to tell about the Pat Galbraith story. We drew Pat Galbraith's first round of the U.S. Open there. He's one of the top teams in the world, and he used that profile racket that's 6 inches thick. Yeah. And he had these really compact strokes, and he savored every shot. Like, he actually took it so early, like you'd serve a volley and he'd be at net before you. So shout out to Galby. I know he's not here, but he drummed us. He actually he was up 6-0, 2-0 in I think 25 minutes, and so he made the choice pretty easy for us to go to college because we needed it. Yeah, we needed big time to grow and get stronger. And it was a perfect springboard for the tour. So we learned a lot of lessons from Gould. Well, one lesson we learned was just improve every day and never be satisfied. And we really took that to heart on the tour. You know, win a title back in the gym on Monday. And I'll never forget '97. We were celebrating on the court after winning the national title, holding the trophy up. And he came up with a steely look on his face and shook my hand and said, "Great job, rookie. You know, if we keep working, imagine how good we're going to be next year." And that's how his brain worked. That's why he won 17 national titles. Because he wasn't content. You know, he wasn't looking at the past. He was always looking forward to the next challenge. Yeah, I think our highlight in college was playing in Athens against the Georgia Bulldogs. I know Manny Diaz is here. He was leading that team. We got George. We got George Brzezny. He was a former Bulldog. I think he should be an inductee one of these days. But we played Georgia in the finals. We had a great team. I think we were 27-0 going into the finals. But we heard just kind of legendary stories about how the Georgia fans could turn a match. And heard the Ricky Leach story, and they were kind of, they could just take down a team. So we played that morning. Georgia was playing LSU, I think, or Ole Miss in the semis, and we sent out Ali Ansari to go scout the crowd, not scout the actual players, scout the crowd. And I remember he came back to the hotel, and his face was white, and he just whispered, he's like, "You guys better not do that damn chest bump tomorrow. Just tone it down, just pull your hats down and play." And we were scared. I mean, I remember sitting in the corridor with all the players, and we could hear the crowd in the background, and we were all kind of shaking. And we hadn't lost a match. We hadn't lost many points. And we were all shaking, and we expected
like a Newt Rockne or like a Vince Lombardi type speech from Gould, and he didn't say a word. He just went up to each guy and just looked right down their eyes and just went down the line and didn't say anything. But you could tell he'd done it before, he'd been there, and it was just that confident glare. Luckily we snuck it out, but I mean, that prepared us for Davis Cup on the road. I mean, it was a piece of cake. I mean, we played in bull rings and soccer stadiums against Nadal and company, and nothing was like that. The barking dogs, the fraternity guys pouring beer on you, or yelling obscenities about your mom. Yeah, and one more story about Athens, because we got Coach Smith here, and this is about your genius, you know, because this was 10 days into the tournament. We won about 19 matches in a row. Georgia fans were getting pretty sick of us. We were a heavy favorite to win the doubles. It was our last college match, and we were playing your team, goal at Menstead, Pepperdine. It was about 120 degrees, and we're walking out to the court. They're wearing these blue and orange sweat jackets. And we're like, they're crazy. What are they doing? But then we got to the coin toss, and they unzipped the jackets. They're wearing these white T-shirts with big, bold Georgia tennis on the shirts, which was genius. The crowd went nuts. We go, oh shit, you know? and you put them in position to win. 3-0, 40-11 in the third. They just couldn't close the door. Maybe karma, but I thought it was a hell of a coaching tactic. It shows you're a genius. You didn't have the horses, but that was a good play. I got to give a shout out to Coach Mark Bay here, too. His first NCAAs was in Athens in '98 with us, and he just told us today that he's now been to 26 straight NCAA tournaments. He helped us on the tour. Never missed the U.S. Open of Miami or Cincinnati, and he was the cheapest coach we ever had, because in Miami we didn't have to get him a hotel room. He would finish the match, go out to the clubs on South Beach, come sleep 30 minutes the next morning in a rental car, and then show up for practice 5 minutes late every time. But thanks Mark for everything. Yeah, I mean, after the Athens, that was our last match against Peter's team, and we went back to the farm, and it was a tough decision. Bob won the Triple Crown. We got a couple calls from agents, but it was actually Gould that called us into his office and told us, you guys are ready to go. So he told us it's time to go pro. And so we turned. It was tough. We were leaving our SAU bros. You know, 23 years on tour, 1,500 matches. And but I don't think we'd have the success we did and the longevity without college tennis. So we're very, very grateful to college tennis. We have our families here. We have kids now, and we want them to get good enough at tennis so they can go and play some college ball. Because for us, it was life-changing. Yeah, honestly, we've been over the matches, and just watching the tennis brings back goosebumps. The energy and the fight and the players, the way they're playing for each other. There's no ATV points, no prize money on the line, and you know, just digging for the pride of the program, for the love of their brothers and sisters, and that's as Davis Cup captain. You know, I was asking Peter for advice, but that's a vibe I want to create. You know, just that love of each other, and if we can do that, you know, we're going to be winners. Yes. Gotta thank my wife Nadia and Bob's wife Michelle. They actually had a junior tournament today. They woke up at 6 a.m. and they're going through that junior meat grinder. Goldie, do you watch Level 7s? Are you watching that? Yeah, but we just really want them to experience the college tennis magic. And yeah, thanks for just a great night. And Coop and Goldie, look out for Stanford 2024. They're coming. Go Cardinal! Come on, Cardinal!
Bob and Mike, that was fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing those stories. I had the privilege, when I was chairman of the board and president of the USTA, of going to a lot of Davis Cup matches at which Bob and Mike were representing our country. And we could not have had better representatives of our country, of our sport. And my hat is off to you because you made such a difference, whether it was Spain or Monte Carlo or South America or all the places that we got to go together. So thank you so much for all you've done for the sport. You deserve the reputation for being the greatest doubles team of all time. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll look forward to seeing all of you again soon. Thanks.